we go again. So I'm continuing painting the general shape of the face. And actually no harm to have a little break there, because I want to explain the full width of it. In the same way as I was finding the shape of that area, I now want to find the shape of the width of the face. So I'm going to put a bit of cadmium orange in with the cadmium red into that colour. I know you're saying, my God, there's loads of colours in there, but the top of it really only has the sap green and cadmium red in it. So I'm just adding a little bit of the cadmium orange to it in order to give it a bit more of a glow. All right, and then pressing and lifting allows the colour to spread. The brush was already damp, and so it kind of allows the paint to squeeze out when you press it against. Like here now I'm pressing it down in order to release the paint, not to make a brush stroke, but to release the paint where it meets the beard. And down there then will be the lobe of the ear, which is below the V, below this V, putting some light, some of that colour I just mixed up to make that V. So the lobe of the ear will be across the face below that V, just a little bit below it. And it's also, you could say this is a triangle here. I don't know if you can actually see. You could say that this skin is a triangle here, slightly bigger one than the triangle of beard that makes the sideburn in front of his ear. But that sideburn is almost the volume of the ear, really. And so it'll go up to the corner of the, yeah, about there. Okay, so maybe, and I mean, I'm keeping, leaning back every so often to figure out if I've gone too far. I think I've gone too far over with this little bit of skin here. I think part of that needs to be beard. So I'm drying the brush, and every third move I'm washing it and drying it and lifting. And then I just print off the ghost of the flesh tone that's left in order that I can explain the shape of the triangle that I'm wanting there for the skin. So like, keep leaning back and recognize when something looks wrong, like when it looks off. That's a real gift. Stop and adjust it, then don't tolerate something that's not completely, that you've seen, that that needs to be relocated. Best you can, I would tackle it as soon as you see it. I'm just kind of creating some context for myself as to where things are located now. So here we have the front of the ear, in relation to that temple shadow, corner of the eye, might be about here, I'd say. And so I'm explaining that I'm starting to find the beard by looking at the shadow beneath the lobe on the neck. And I'll just print where I think the edge of the ear needs to be. And I'm going to lift off that little intrusion into the earlobe with a clean, damp brush. And I know it's nondescript, but I can clarify the lobe again later. I just want to capture the dark of the shadow of the neck, and where it meets the beard and where it meets the lobe. And then it gradually dissipates. So I'm pushing and lifting with a clean, damp brush in order to let that dissipating happen. And then I'll use the colour that was on the brush to make that. Just back to the 3/4 inch brush again. Like, if you've got a brush that has the colour you want on it, rather than washing it and every time go to a different brush in order to make, for that instance, I just wanted something clean to lift off to make a softer transition. I hope that the whole thing is working. Oh yeah, the mic is still on. I can see the green light reflected in my chin. Right, so there's the neck. Now there's the I think this is skin. There's a crack on my phone. Yeah, there's bright skin actually beneath the shadow of the cheekbone here. There's an area of bright skin that occupies the space to the right of the moustache. And I'm seeing where it is in relation to the eye above. It's like this kind of a shape, and then to the right of that light shape there's another little bit of flesh color. So there's the light skin and there's light beard. I'm just going to make a differentiation by printing. So this is light moustache, this is light skin, and now I'm going to find there's some especially bright skin, but it's a different kind of a color. It's like a pinky color that's under there. So I've just used a kind of a crimson It's not very clean, is it? My water isn't that clean, to be honest with you, which is a bad idea. Make sure you've got clean water. Yeah, and I want to go to the warm color again, and just using the brush completely, just to kind of follow it over, because everything here is darker than the brightness on the cheekbone below. Maisie, get out of there. I don't know what she's looking for. And then I can also use it over here, because if I darken something on this side, I want to darken it on the other side, because the eye needs to be made the same. You know, I want the eyes to read as being cohesive together. What she's got now. And you see, I want to bring out the forehead a bit more, and also the eyebrow. So I've just put a touch of warm orange and a touch of cerulean blue in order to explain how the eyebrow extends out. And you know what? The beard actually extends further out again. So I think what I'll do is I'll make a little bit more skin there. I'm just pushing left, because there's a kind of a protrusion as the cheek comes down and out, and that'll allow me to make the beard come out a little bit further as well then. Yeah, and I'm wanting to explain the edge of the beard. Let me take a bit of an overview and see what needs to be. Yeah, do you know what I'll do next now is with the cerulean blue in there again. So the cerulean blue mixed with the cadmium red and sap green is what I've done there to explain. When I half close my eyes, there's a shadow cast maybe by the nose onto the moustache, or else it's just that the moustache is darker in the center here. But I think it's a helpful thing to locate that dark on the way down to finding the mouth. And the mouth is on the same vertical, the left corner of the mouth is on the same vertical as the edge of the nose. And it's maybe not down that far when I look at the distance between that and the eye. We've got the front of the lobe here. I'd be always trying to measure things as I'm working, and then put it in with the paint. But like, I'm wondering here if the width of the eyes is enough in relation to the width of the skin here. So I'm kind of leaving things open a bit, as long as they're not way off. I'm letting the edge be possible to be shifted kind of when I discover the new thing. So there's some paradoxes here, aren't there? Right, there's the ultramarine blue now with the Van Dyke brown. Paradoxes, because one minute I was saying to you, make sure you don't tolerate something that's not. If you see something that needs to be shifted, shift it. But what I'm saying here is that if you're not convinced that it needs to be shifted, leave it alone, and the conviction hopefully will come later. So here's the carry on with the eye again now, and then the other eye over here is dark and kind of, I think, occupies the space like that, and just making a triangle of that eye. And then again, it's kind of dark where the intersection of the socket of the eye meets the edge of the nose. And I think I print it so that there's the overhanging kind of hooded quality. It's not so wide open. Yeah, it's a bit big, this brush. I could have done with the 1/4 inch brush to do that little bit, but it's done now. Okay. I think I will move it just a little with my finger so that the iris is marginally higher than I've got it. All to play for still there. And then I'm putting in something a bit darker here too, to help again to identify those points of intersection, like the dark of the iris, the dark of this bit here, the dark of the corner of the mouth. How does that relate to this? Finding a triangle again there. Dark of the underside of the nostril, which I might shift to the right a little bit. And then I'm going to use some alizarin crimson maybe in there. I always lift up way too much of the alizarin crimson, a big glob of it on my palette now. To describe like it's parallel to the nostril above it, really, the lip on this side, and it's about the same width almost as the nostril too. And then there's a drop down for the corner, which goes over the point of intersection of the corner. It might be there. And I think I'm going to let some of the eye be filled in here as well so that it comes over a bit further. There's things to describe in this area, but I just wanted it to be made darker there. And again, darker up there, just using the alizarin now that it's on the brush. And again, I want it to read as cohesive, so I'm using it over here too on this eyebrow and underneath it. And then I wet the brush a little bit and see what's on the brush. And yeah, so I'll just stick a bit more cadmium red and sap green, because what I'm aiming to describe now is the drop of skin that's here. It's quite dark below the corner of the mouth on this side, and it opens up into a kind of triangle. So I would say, speaking about explaining the beard, especially if it's a white beard, I would say locating the little areas of skin as faithfully as you can that interrupt the beard would be a very helpful way of describing it for you. So there's the hollow that sits underneath the lower lip that's described here by that little point, and then it extends out this side. So we're looking at the anatomy of the face and how it's tucked in there, and then it'll protrude out for the chin where the light is falling on the beard. Maisie, do you want to go out of here? I think she's wanting to get out. So I put in some more cadmium orange into that mix because it looks to me as if it gets a lot brighter as we go across. And I feel like that could do with being maybe a touch lower. Let me see. I'll just bring the colors in elsewhere so that I can kind of see clearly. When I put the same color in a few places, it helps me to consider the distances between things somehow. I think this too could drop a little bit lower, that shadow there. I'm just going to let Maisie out. Get out of here, Maisie. Come on in. Off she goes, waking up the neighbors. Okay, so and by the way, this isn't on an easel. It's a board that's leaning on a box, and could be a little bit higher for me, to be honest. I'm stooping down a little bit, but generally I feel quite happy with the position. Now there's a bit of a shadow too. I think the color on the brush is a bit too bright, so I mixed it again with the sap green and cadmium red in order to make the shadow that's underneath the spherical end of the nose here, to help it to have a three-dimensional quality to it. Maybe I'll use it there too. And there's a little tap by the cheekbone. The cast shadow of the turban is landing on the top of the ear as well. But I have some skepticism around my positioning of things there, so I'm going to carry on going down here first before locating the ear very completely. You see, I feel like between the corner of the mouth and the jawline there, I maybe have more space than I need. I might need to bring the beard into kind of there-ish, but we'll see. I want to make this a bit darker, so I'm very clear as to where the upper lip is located. So I'm just holding the brush and touching where I want the darks to land. Okay, and then there's a slight change of color, so I'm putting a bit of cerulean blue into that, because there's a change of color between the dark, the upper lip there, and the skin below. There's a kind of a bluish hint there. And I'm going to lift off some of the color now because I don't think it's quite that dark, but I'm happy that it's a different color to the skin below it. All right. And I think there's room for another little bit of ultramarine blue in that lip line. There's something kind of dark there. I felt I was kind of wanting to put something more hem into it. Sometimes a little shadow can really capture a likeness, a little shadow around the mouth, or apparently Oscar Wilde said a portrait is a painting where there's something not quite right about the mouth. And there's so many nuances, I think, in our mouths that there is a possibility of shifting a thing completely by one small move, either capturing a likeness or losing it. And there's the dark of the eyebrow. I'm just finding more and more shadows within it now that it's drying a little bit. And now I'll find, like I was talking about, using that cerulean blue to describe the edge of the beard by printing it, really. I'm trying to make the brush as clean as I can in this murky water. And pick up some clean blue, clean bit of the palette there, because I want to use the blue, that fluid blue that I've just picked up. Can you see it? Yeah. Fluid blue that I've just picked up. I want to use that to describe where the edge of the beard stops and the space around it starts. Now look, that's quite a distance there, and I don't think it's that far away at all from where the mouth is. So I'm going to relocate, bring that in a bit. And it makes me think that my eyebrow above can shift back as well, but I don't have to urgently do that. I'm going to try and, as I'm looking at this area, I'm going to see what's happening here. I mean, I guess that may come out a little bit more to, it does come over a little bit further than the nose in order to bridge to reduce the gap a little bit there. And the same with this little bit here, come over a little bit more. Now the cerulean blue is letting me know this is beard. For me, it's almost like a shorthand for me to say this is no longer skin now, and this is the position of the beard. And it may be that I'll wash away some of what I've put on just now, but it's just helping me to find my way along. So I'm looking at every change in direction as we as we move down down and over towards the neck here. And there's the dark that extends out from the beard. And if I was to continue that dark up, it would end up like it's about there. Yeah, it would end up going through the face about here. So I'm fairly happy to plant it there. But I do think I need to reduce the length of the beard area. I'm just going to make that color a bit darker with the Van Dyke brown mixed into it. And then put in some of that, the corner in there. And actually there's the background color. So in order to help me with just this little bit here where it comes down to meet the shoulder, I'm going to just put in the background color, because I think that I've given him too long a beard, too long a chin, and so it helps me to see the other edges of that shape in order to find the bottom edge. I'm going to push it and lift it. I'd say significantly higher. And yeah, so we'll find the curved edge where the green of the lovely, I'll put for some Viridian green, I think, on the brush there to describe this this kind of thing. I suppose it's the remains of the turban that isn't on his head. I hope I'm calling it the right thing now, I'm not sure. I suppose it is a turban, isn't it? Anyway, this is the leg of it coming out. It's not exactly that colour. I could do with putting a bit of blue into it, I think, the ultramarine blue, to take away some of that bright green feel. And even to make it a little bit murky with my dirty colours. And I don't want the outer edge having all that carry on to it, so just with a wet brush lift it up and let it run away for now, knowing that later on I can adjust it. I just didn't want it distracting me. So I'm mixing the ultramarine, no, the Viridian green with the alizarin crimson now, and using it to explain that dark shadow and the dark here. And really what I'm wanting to explain more is the shape of the beard made by where the shadow meets the beard. I'm wanting to describe the beard by painting the colours up to it. And there's something in the mouth that's that's needing to be shifted, and I think it's at this corner could do with coming down just a little bit more. There's more of a drop here, I think, when I look at the shape of the skin above it. So I'm just going to use the brush above, a damp, clean brush, to create more space here between the nostril and the corner of the mouth on this side, which will be filled by beard, probably, mustache. Okay, I'm gonna fill into to bring more volume back into the upper lip now. I'm going to let it to deepen the tone of it as it comes down to the corner there. That's all right, I think. And maybe I can also do something with the blue over there, just to deepen the tone. Yeah, it's okay. Might be actually that even this bit shifts over a little bit to meet the position of the spherical end of the nose there. That general dark shape. So it moved it over a little bit, but I wanted to read his skin again, so I'm putting just a quick touch of something like burnt sienna into it to bleed into the blue, because when you put cerulean burnt sienna in at the blue there, it does that. Burnt sienna and ultramarine blue make that kind of a colour that's, they cancel each other out a bit, you know, like opposites on the colour wheel. When you mix them, they cancel each other out, and when you have them beside each other, they kind of excite each other. Okay, so you see how the beard will hopefully kind of manifest itself as we find our way up to it. Let's see now. There also needs to be a little bit of skin colour coming up here that's quite dark too, to explain that maybe it's the trap muscle here. And as I continue it, it would enter and exit just below the corner of the mouth there. I'm also going to just increase the volume of that shadow and carve out this shape so that it has a space for the mustache there too, a little bit more. So there's little adjustments, and you can kind of keep the faith that you'll see them as you need to see them as you go through your painting. So this is a diagonal now that runs to about here, and it's a kind of a long gradual slope, and its end, well, yeah, it's okay there. So just to kind of capture the turn, the strain of the neck turning there. And I'll put a bit of cadmium orange and cadmium red into the mix so that it's got a bit more of a feeling of skin there beside the green. And I think what's on the brush might be a good enough colour to describe this, the next channel of dark. You see, I'm actually, where the beard turns there is going to be, yeah, about there. Well, I'll maybe let it go straighter for a little while before the incline goes up. And it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's quite satisfying to kind of try and find, locate all the things, and I do need to bring the neck in a little bit here, I think. I mean, the height of the lobe is okay. Across the face, the lobe, it's level kind of with the corner of the mouth on this side here. And then we can just kind of sorry about the backing vocals there, it must be kind of annoying. And I think every so often I hit the microphone as well. Right, so I put some cadmium red on the brush. I forget what for. Oh yeah, because I was going up here and I was going to find the edge where the turban stops and the forehead starts. And I want that to read as light for now, because it is bright, that forehead. Probably the brightest skin in the painting. And then there's a sense of it being like a triangle here, slanting in, and the shadow slanting out. And then there's a kind of a drop, a steep drop there to explain the curve. And then it's almost horizontal over to the other, more wider curve. And then down there. And focusing with care on the turn of all of these things will help to describe the cross section of the head for you. And I'm going to go around the back then. Another thing that'll help to describe the cross section, and it's a tricky enough thing to do, like it takes a bit of gumption, I think, to try and locate the turban as it enters the other side of the head, you know, as it moves away from us and is covered, overlapped by the forehead, because finding the edge of the turban where it disappears is finding the edge of the face on this side. And it's a very helpful thing to be able to do that. But don't feel like you have to do it. Like, I don't think I can find the full curve now. I'm just going to go for the darks that I'm seeing. There's a triangle of dark above there that when I drop it down would be about here, I think. And that's where there's a nice fold. I keep finding triangles, and I'd recommend that you do the same. Do your best to find geometric shapes within what you're painting, because it simplifies it for you and stops it being a challenging, wrinkly turban, and begins to be just like a triangle with a little leg down off it, and that kind of thing. You know, you can talk yourself around the shape by explaining what the shape of it is. So there's a bit of a bend here, and it's brighter there, so I broke an edge of that triangle. Okay, but I'm going to stop with that now for a minute and go back over here, because there are things to shift. And I think I'll use the background again, because directly across the face there is a dark, and that's going to help me to find kind of quickly to explain where the ear stops. I put more blue in it because I didn't want it to read as the same as the turban colour. So it's more of an ultramarine blue in this, and it's going to quickly get rid of all the efforts that I made to find the ear and let me distinguish where I think it is more surely now, finding the dark of the background there. Just putting in the shadow in the ear as I saw it, and I can change the colour of it later if I want to. Now, maybe a little bit more of the turban colour could explain where the edge of the turban stops over here too. And again, it's kind of a wide open triangle, and there's a touch of something there that would help me to locate. You know, there's a little light crumb here or something, and when I draw a line straight across, it looks like it would intersect the eyes about there, and then it goes up like that. And there's the little bit of the knot, which is higher up than the band is here, so it's okay. And if I draw a straight line down from it, it's behind the ear, so I think it's okay in that position. And I'm looking too at the width here in relation to the width here. You'll have your own pathway through the painting, and it's kind of exciting to find your key, like to see what you can do to make it simple for yourself to move through it. So you mightn't find these points of intersection. You might go for different things. So for example, I kind of know now that the height of this triangle area is about the height of the nose, I think. Let me just see. From the forehead to the top of that triangle, it's a bit shorter than the nose, than the bright part of the nose, so that's okay. And there's some wrinkles, like I'm not going to put it all in, but there's some that might be helpful going into the dark. And here too, but we're here to focus on beard. And I think another thing that will help the beard to read as beard is to give some sort of a value to the rest of the face, because the beard is the brightest, lightest, whitest thing. So with your clean water, get your clean palette, you get your cadmium orange, cadmium red, and I'm going to make myself a nice bright clean colour. And you'll see it there, look. I've got a bottle that's cleaner, so I'll wash my brush on that. And now I'm going to scoop up some of that, and just to give a value to the parts of the face that aren't beard. Oh, I think I disturbed. There's some colour there, but sure, it's alright. And then just like letting the water land on the face, so I'm barely touching the paper, pushing and lifting and letting the drops land. It just means that it's bright, the brightness of the colour is kept. If there's not like big long sweeps of it, I think there's something about placing it lightly that gives it a bit of shimmering light. I'm going to need to put a bit more on now, so I'll scoop it up from there because my palette is a bit dirty. I want to bring some of that light into the nose area, even although it's got a lot of light on it. There are some parts of the nose that aren't that bright, and then down here it's got. So we're kind of creating color in the places that look white, so that by separating those bits out, it's letting it be known that the beard, being the white of the paper, is actually that color. But of course, when you do that, there's a chance then that you'll need to deepen the tones of things elsewhere too. So I'm going to just put in some alizarin crimson and viridian green on the palette there to make a dark color with my 1/4 inch brush to re-establish the darks that are here. And it's kind of no harm to revisit the eye just to get something more of the character of it in there, and also this side. So when you're painting the eyes in situations like this, you might forget that they're eyes at all when you're doing them, and just look at where the darks and lights are. See that that's quite dark up there too again. And then down here maybe. It's great if you can forget what it is you're painting. It takes the stress out of it sometimes, especially if it's something as kind of particular as a human eye. The darks and lights, once they're explained, should hopefully bring you to it. It's a good photo too, because it's the darks and lights are clear, and that's helpful. Sometimes photos aren't so clear, and you might find that it's difficult then to get a handle on what's important, what's an important dark to explain, and what's one that can be left alone. What's a helpful thing to create structure and form, and what's going to be best to be ignored. I wanted to darken this down again, so I cleaned and dried the area a bit. I just printed it off like, Maisie, stop it! Digging a hole outside there. Yeah, I wanted it to dry so that it wouldn't bleed so much. So that's why I dried underneath. And with putting the darks in elsewhere, I wanted to put the dark in there too, and also in the corner of the mouth over here. Maybe it's about there now. And I think too there's some